Yes, I would like to thank you, the organizer, to give me this opportunity to say a few words in this workshop, and also to the speaker to give part of their time for including my short talk here. I wanted to say a few words about the role of scientists within this big issue of war and peace. And I was quite interested to see that this workshop was started by high-energy physicists, Professor Sugawara, Professor Shimizu, and it's quite interesting to raise the issue, what is actually the role of basic scientists. Science and scientists have been very often seen as a milk cow, this producing milk, knowledge as milk, and then left to other people the role of using the milk either to make butter or to make a chemical weapon. So I think now time is changing, and I think that the researcher should be included in this thinking about the use, the application of the research. So there is no question mark here. I think it is actually part of the scientist's business to be concerned about the application of what they are doing in their research activity. Well, we can have different approach concerning the role of scientists. One that could be to create some association like research without border, like the French doctor, but for research. I think another opportunity is to use what we are thinking about now concerning global laboratories in the world. When I say global, I mean worldwide laboratories, and what these laboratories can do concerning the development of research, concerning the dissemination of research, and also how they can involve a less developed country in this activity of doing research. The relation with this workshop is that ignorance is a source of conflict. And as you know, ignorance generates unfounded fears and very often leading to aggressiveness. And the more you are knowledgeable about the other, the less you are entitled or willing to be involved in some conflict. The more you know the other, the less you are sensitive to propaganda from your own country. So I think knowledge is a weapon against war. And also knowledge is the basis for mutual and self-respect. I think you consider somebody in your everyday life, you consider somebody more profoundly if this somebody brings you some more knowledge about anything. It could be science, it could be everyday life, it could be connection with nature, it could be how to make a nice pottery, whatever. But I think you give a value to somebody when he brings you something that you didn't know, that's something that you learn. So I think it's very important. It's a very good way of exchanging ideas and culture. And so what is true for the individual is also true for the countries. And the more this less developed country will have access to knowledge, to worldwide knowledge, I think the more they will be considered by the other country, and the more they will be able to provide to the other countries. So this has been said also this morning. The solution of peace is through balance, and you know that France is pushing very much for a very balanced world in all respects. And this balance has been very powerful during these last years in maintaining maintaining the peace in the world. Through the so-called Cold War. Actually, during this time, there was no so much activity of war. But this balance was based on military power. What we should go to is maybe to reach some kind of peace by using knowledge. So we could go from Cold War to knowledge peace. And this balance should be achieved at all levels: economics, politics, And also, this we know very well, but also about knowledge, science, and culture. And although science and culture is maybe not always considered as a priority, I think it plays a soft but deep influence on the international relations. So this idea of global laboratories, we have been talking a lot about recently in physics, but also in other fields, of making real center for research, which will be worldwide, and we call it global laboratories. It's first of all a fantastic melting pot where different cultures can meet and also different people. It's a way also of bringing education through research, a framework to develop individual abilities, but also to reach a higher level of knowledge and of high technology development in the country, in the participating country, and more precisely for the developing countries. And also it's very important for the laboratories themselves because they bring some additional manpower, but also brain power for this, from this less developed country. And so it's beneficial, it's a win-win situation. But now the question is, let's stop the dream here. How can we do it? We maybe can be influenced or by the experience that have been going on at CERN. CERN is a high energy physics center in Europe, which has been started maybe 50 or 60 years ago, when Europe was quite low in terms of achievement in science. And CERN was able to gather all the European countries and to try to make all these countries at the same level and produce one of the most efficient knowledge research center in the world, which is located in Geneva. There was also the experiment called World Lab by Mr. Zikiki, who got some money to invite students for the less developed country. There is also this very, very interesting example of a South African telescope. South Africa is not a rich country, but still they have been able to launch an international program, a big telescope, and this has been extremely important for the country itself. It has shown that even a country without a lot of resources can be involved in basic research with the rest of the other countries. So they are part of the country which try to increase the global knowledge. There are other experiences also in Namibia and in Chile and so on. I think what is important is this kind of reflection would be included in the basis of the creation of this global laboratory, there may be many global laboratories, one per field. But this should be discussed right at the decision-making level, and we should find the right way to finance the participation of this less developed country. So we can expect to have maybe special fund from this intergovernmental or international organization like we hear this morning. We also can expect to use part of the royalties which have been generated by the laboratory to contribute to this financing of this less developed country through their participation. Funding agencies should be also concerned, and also the countries themselves should bring some support for their own people working in these centers. So I wanted to be very short here, and I think there is in this workshop should be some session which would be dedicated to how to very practically think about creating this kind of global laboratory with the participation, with the strong participation of all the countries in the world that are willing to be part of this big and very interesting development of creating new knowledge. Thank you for your attention.
which can be
Yeah,
creative progress in such international law?
Yeah, we are talking about basic science. In principle, in basic science, nothing should be patented. Okay. Now there are some application. We develop some technology sometimes that is needed to develop this basic science. And this is where this can be patented. But this is a whole discussion that we should have. I'm not sure how we should manage. For example, at CERN, many electronic circuit has been developed for the experiment at CERN, and there was no patent. Any company could come in, grab the schematics, and then make their own product. So it was very open. I know that now this is changing a little bit. But all this discussion about the patenting of general idea, I think it's out of question. But now for the more technical things, we should see how this can be included in such big project. Yes, I have no definite answer to that.
I'm very glad that www was not patented.
Yeah. But on the other hand, imagine this have been patented by CERN. Imagine, now CERN will be very rich. And CERN will build LHC, will build linear collider, will build anything without just begging money from the country. So,
You understand?